Previously, on Talk That Talk. Somebody explain to me why, for some people, it makes sense to be glazed to be in band.
It makes absolutely no sense, and I don't get it whatsoever.
I thought
Did you say explain why some people think that?
It may, yeah.
Because I think, like all other things, that culture has been shared. I mean, Drumline, my whole high school band went to go see that. And that experience was conveyed. And then again, people tell stories about, wow, to get in, the Legion, I had to do this, or to get in that, I had to do this, or somebody coming from your high school and you tell them, get ready because it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that. So there's some expectation. The other thing is, people feel like, this is what they did, so I want to do it too. So I just think it's passed down. And y'all evidently was getting hazed up in high school, so evidently it's a continuation. I didn't experience that. That's crazy as hell to me, but it seems to be a continuation.
Yeah, because I will take full ownership of that. I was not everybody else on the panel, but I was getting glazed in high school.
Like this, bro. I never forget. I was a senior in high school.
You was getting glazed up in high. You was getting glazed in high school, though.
He was a young nut.
Yes.
Hey,
and Rick, let's not forget, we got glazed in 902. Yeah.
Like this, I went to I was a senior in high school. I'm not gonna say the college, but I went to go visit the college, right? And my mama was with me, and my mama was talking to the band director and was like, "Yeah, my son wants to go here, so forth and so on." And my mama said, "Hey, I heard y'all be glazing up here. Don't you put your hand on my baby." And the band director specifically turned around and said, "Well, this ain't the son for you. This ain't the school for your son, because we glaze up here. Have a nice day," and walked off.
Wait, this was in high school?
I'll be John. She told, wow. What year was that? What year was this? Did they just
give out the school? You can at least give out the year. Good Lord.
Yeah, it was 05.
Oh, well, yeah, at that time, our football team was probating at Norfolk State, and it was all kinds of shit going on.
Everybody was there.
I in the school at 06.
It was glazing, bro.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, too, y'all. Like Portia, you just brought it up. These schools be having some of the most garbage organizations that do the absolute most when it comes to that.
Organization that was glazing.
Because there was this one, never mind. It was a lot of North State, but the thing about it,
you got to talk about the flamethrowers, weren't you?
I was. You already knew.
You can't stand the flamethrowers. Probably because they hit the hook, daddy. But yeah. I mean, but Rick, I mean, even if you take it off the flamethrowers, dog, we 902, bro.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Y'all were glazes.
So let me pose this question.
But the Legion, because you brought up the Legion. Oh, let me say this real quick, Portia. Now I'll get out your way. You brought up the Legion. It was widely known when we were in school that the Legion didn't haze. We just didn't. Like, Doc was not having that. Mr. Adams and them, they was not having that. And it was so much so that ESPN, HBO,
Safe Haven,
nicknamed us the Safe Haven of college, and people made fun of us for that.
But before you go into that, Rick, think about how many of us were kind of tight on that, because we still wanted to keep the perception that we got down, but we knew we didn't.
But I don't think it was so much so the fact that we wanted to keep that perception. We didn't want nobody to have nothing negative to say about the Legion, because they won't go outplay us. They won't go out march us. They damn sure won't go out drill us. It won't a band in this country that could out drill the Legion back then when we was in.
Hey, what year was that? When that HBO?
That was 02. Julian's rookie brother.
No.
He not your rookie brother.
That was like that. Yeah, that was later on in the year. I think.
No, the Safe Haven thing came out
06,
like 05, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, because that's when I first honestly heard of Norfolk, because it wasn't like band tapes was out popping, and I was like, man, that's what's up. That's a Safe Haven.
So I think my question becomes, is that necessary? Because that ain't what we do, but we got a good band program, so. is it necessary? But I think my other question was, you know, some of us are saying now that it's not quite necessary. I'm not jeopardizing my check for it. But my thing is, you know, since some of us potentially was glazed back in the day, what about it made it acceptable then and not now?
I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that it kind of goes back to what you were kind of saying earlier. I think that
I agree. I was gonna say the same thing.
The idea of you know, the conversations that we were having when we were younger and the expectation of, and we get there and we think, I mean, it's the rite of passage. So I mean, we just going through that right. Like when I got to Norfolk, I mean, this has nothing to do with glazing specifically, but it kind of is. If you know anything about the towers, I was always told, like, you ain't really at Norfolk State unless you done crossed through them towers. Like you done actually stayed in them towers and felt that that terribleness of getting that alarm pulled, and you got to walk all the way down them steps. Like if you ain't went through that process. Like, so I think that's just the rite of passage that we felt that we had to do. I think us as older people, we realize how ridiculous it is, and now we're trying to say, hey, we got to put a stop to this. But I think that now transitions to what Rick was talking about earlier, when the reason why these things are still in place is because people our age and maybe older can't let it go. So I think it's unfortunately the two things canceling themselves out.
But I think I want to argue something different. I don't know if it's solely that we can't let it go. I think that and the reason I asked that question is to kind of segue into this. I think there's some expectation that I should be going through this, that if I'm going to be in one of these organizations, I want this so I can feel like I'm legitimate. And my thing is that doesn't legitimize you. It's these rituals, it's these ceremonies that legitimizes you. Once you go through that, you have all rights, you know, to the same thing that I do. You know what I'm saying? So,
but the other part, go ahead, Maya. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, truly, absolutely, fundamentally, tangibly, yes. But I think that also goes back into what we said before. It's still that sense of belonging of, okay, are the old heads gonna consider me paper, el papel, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it goes against that. Like, if I set out, if I want this, if I set out for this, then I want to make sure, and you know, to me, it feels solidified versus not. And I think, but again, that's just I think that's cyclical. I haven't said that in a while, but it's a cyclical thought process. Those who we were kind of trained up on the idea of this is what it takes. Then you'd like, okay, on the bottom side of it, yeah, technically the rituals and all those things are what signifies it, or what I don't really know what the word I'm trying to use is, but it's just still a sense of belonging. It's that categorization of, this is what's gonna make me feel like I got this, I earned this, and not just, this is just what I wanted.